I never thought I'd find myself in such a messy situation at 50. It all started 3 years ago when my son Jack was in what he called a situationship, a term that made me feel pretty out of touch when I first heard it. Apparently, it meant they weren't officially dating but were more than just friends. The girl in question was Emma, this gorgeous social media influencer who seemed to have quite a few admirers lined up. Jack was head over heels for her, showering her with expensive gifts and constantly inviting her over to our place. But whenever I'd ask if they were officially together, he'd just shrug and say they were keeping things casual. Being his mother, I couldn't help but notice how much effort he was putting into something that didn't seem to have a clear direction. That's when Sarah came into the picture. She was this bright-eyed young woman who started working at my boutique. The shop was my pride and joy, filled with colorful fabrics and unique decorations that reflected my love for all things vibrant. Sarah brought this amazing energy to the place, always smiling and eager to learn. One afternoon, while we were arranging new merchandise, she noticed Jack's photo on my desk. Her eyes lit up as she asked about him, and I found myself sharing stories about his achievements and hobbies during our coffee breaks. Given that Jack's situation with Emma wasn't exclusive, I didn't see any harm in playing matchmaker. I gave Sarah his number and encouraged her to reach out. Looking back, I probably should have minded my own business. When I mentioned it to Jack later, his response was lukewarm at best. Just a half-hearted's okay, Mom, before quickly changing the subject. I didn't think much of it at the time, but that moment would come back to haunt me. A few months later, to my surprise, Jack and Emma made their relationship official. Their social media was suddenly filled with couple photos and sweet captions. The casual situationship had transformed into something serious, and I couldn't help but wonder if my little matchmaking attempt had played a role in pushing them together. As time went on, I noticed Emma becoming increasingly distant toward me. The tension was obvious, but I tried to ignore it until it became unbearable. One afternoon after a family lunch, I decided to clear things. I asked her to stay behind for a chat in our living room. I carefully expressed my regret about the Sarah situation, hoping to bridge the gap. Her response was polite but cold, making it clear that I should have stayed out of their relationship, regardless of how casual it seemed at the time. She explained that even situationships have their own boundaries, something I hadn't fully understood. Things only got more complicated when Emma decided to drop out of college to focus on her influencer career. I couldn't keep my opinions to myself and voiced my concerns rather strongly, forgetting that I had no say in her educational choices since I wasn't the one paying for her tuition. This only added another layer of frost to our already chilly relationship. My daughter Lisa, frustrated with the whole situation, suggested I ask for advice on Reddit, half-jokingly. But the tension was no laughing matter, especially since Jack was talking more and more about marriage. Every attempt I made to warm things up with Emma seemed to make her even more distant, and I could feel my relationship with my son straining as a result. Things took a dramatic turn when Lisa decided to involve my husband in our family drama. He travels a lot for work, which has given us a comfortable life, but means he's often absent during important moments. This time, he came home earlier than expected and walked right into the middle of our unresolved tensions. My husband, usually the calm and steady one in our family, surprised me with his reaction. Before I even knew what was happening, he had asked Jack to leave our home. I wasn't there when it happened. I just came back to find Jack's room partially empty, with only a few belongings left behind. The sight of his vacant space hit me hard, making me feel like I'd failed as a mother. My phone was flooded with messages from Jack, each one more heartbreaking than the last. He couldn't believe we'd thrown him out, calling us heartless. I felt torn between my husband's decision and my son's pain. The next day, my husband left town again for work, assuring me he'd handle things with Jack from a distance. But how do you handle something like this when you're not even here? Lisa sided completely with her father, which only made things worse. Every time Jack tried to come home to talk things through, it would turn into a shouting match. Our once peaceful home became a battleground, with Lisa acting as the guardian of her father's decision. I remember one particularly difficult evening when Jack came over. He knocked softly at the door, and when I opened it, I could see the hope in his eyes immediately fade as he spotted Lisa standing behind me. He started with a gentle, "Can we talk?" But before I could even respond, Lisa jumped in with a harsh, "Why are you here?" "You know Dad's decision." What should have been a calm discussion quickly turned into a chaos. Lisa accused Jack of being irresponsible and thoughtless, while Jack pleaded for understanding. Their voices got louder and louder. Standing between my children, watching them fight like this, I felt my heart breaking. The living room, where we'd shared so many happy moments, had become a place of pain and anger. The whole situation felt like watching a carefully built sandcastle being washed away by the tide, and I was helpless to stop it. However, as their mother, I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. I secretly set aside some money for Jack, not much but enough to help him get by until things calmed down. It wasn't a solution, but it was the only thing I could think of to show him that I still cared. The hardest part was the silence that followed these confrontations. Our home felt too big, too empty. Dinner times, which used to be filled with chatter and laughter, became quiet affairs. Lisa would sit at the table, still angry and hurt, while I pushed food around my plate, thinking about Jack and wondering if he was eating well. Through all of this, I noticed that despite the chaos at home, Jack's relationship with Emma seemed to grow stronger. They faced our family's drama as a united front, and I could see how they supported each other. It made me realize that maybe I had been wrong about their relationship from the start. What I had dismissed as a casual situationship had actually been the foundation of something much deeper and more meaningful. Emma, who I had worried wouldn't be serious enough for my son, proved to be his rock during this difficult time. She stood by him, helped him find his footing after leaving home, and showed a level of commitment that I hadn't given her credit for. Watching them together, even from a distance, started to change my perspective. Perhaps they understood something about love and partnership that I, with all my years of experience, had failed to see. The weeks turned into months, and while the raw pain of our family's fracture began to dull, the absence of Jack in our daily lives remained a constant ache. But sometimes, the darkest moments can lead to unexpected light, and our family's story was about to take another turn, one that none of us saw coming, but that would ultimately lead us down a path of healing and understanding. The first sign of change came when Jack announced his engagement to Emma. Even through the simple photos he sent us, their joy was contagious. Seeing them together, so genuinely happy and excited about their future, something shifted in my heart. I realized that my role as a mother wasn't to direct my son's life, but to support his choices and celebrate his happiness. Taking a deep breath and hoping for the best, I invited them both over for dinner. My husband, who had seen how committed Jack was to making his life with Emma work, finally softened his stance. When they walked through our front door that evening, it felt like the house could breathe again after holding its breath for so long. The dinner started off awkwardly, with everyone choosing their words carefully like we were walking on eggshells. But as the evening went on, something magical happened. Laughter found its way back to our dining room. My husband and I listened with genuine interest as they shared their plans for the future, including a business venture that would build on Emma's social media presence. Their enthusiasm was infectious, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I could see our family healing. Lisa remained the toughest nut to crack. She sat at dinner with a polite but skeptical expression, not quite ready to let go of her reservations. But Jack and Emma surprised me with their approach to winning her over. Instead of pushing or trying to force a relationship, they showed up for her in small but meaningful ways. They attended her art exhibitions, supported her projects, and made genuine efforts to include her in their lives. The real breakthrough came during a casual barbecue in our backyard. Emma and Lisa ended up on the same team for a game of charades, and something about their shared laughter and playful competitiveness seemed to melt away the last of the tension. Watching them together, teasing and joking like real sisters, brought tears to my eyes. By the time the wedding rolled around, the transformation in our family was complete. Lisa not only attended but stood proudly as Emma's maid of honor. Her wedding speech left everyone in tears. She talked about her initial doubts but admitted how wrong she'd been, celebrating the love she'd witnessed between her brother and his chosen partner. The wedding itself was beautiful, held outdoors on a perfect day. Looking around at all the smiling faces, friends and family who had witnessed our struggles and were now sharing in our joy, I felt overwhelming gratitude. My son stood tall and confident at the altar, and Emma, despite all our rocky history, had never looked more radiant. After the ceremony, Emma hugged me tight and whispered, "Thank you for raising the man I love." That moment washed away any lingering regrets I had about our past conflicts. Sometimes the paths that seem most challenging lead us exactly where we need to be. Now when I visit their home, I see photos from their wedding day displayed proudly alongside new memories they're creating together. Jack and Emma's business is thriving, proving that sometimes following your heart, even if it means dropping out of college or standing firm in a situationship, can lead to success that goes beyond traditional measures. Lisa and Emma have become inseparable, often going on shopping trips together or meeting for coffee just to chat. It's funny how life works out. The very relationship I once worried would tear our family apart ended up making it stronger than ever. Looking back at everything that happened, I've learned that love sometimes comes in packages we don't expect, and that growth often requires us to let go of our preconceptions about how things should be. What started as a mother's misguided attempt to meddle in her son's love life turned into a beautiful lesson about trust, acceptance, and the power of giving people space to follow their own hearts. These days, our family dinners are lively affairs filled with laughter and conversation. The tension that once filled our home has been replaced by a deeper understanding and appreciation for each other. And sometimes when I see Jack and Emma together, sharing a private joke or exchanging loving glances, I'm reminded that the best love stories don't always follow the path we expect them to take.